What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 63 of the College Loop Podcast. No Daniel today, but Harrison Tarr is here after his great concert he went to last night. From what I understand, he went to go see Zach Bryan.
Yeah, man, got to go see Zach Bryan in Atlanta, and I'm telling you, if you've heard the hype about him in concert, it's real, and he's spectacular. Really brought the house down. No motorcycle drive-by, but that's okay. I'm not holding grudges. But yeah, no, incredible experience. Happy to be back in the loop. Happy to be talking Auburn ball, and really pumped up and proud of our intern Colin for pressing the record button. I'm really proud of him. He's doing a great job. And no, we're loving having him on board. Beiersdorf, aka Bagman, is doing a great job in the behind the scenes work. Let's get right in to Auburn football. All right, let's talk. So North Texas, which is UNT, right? That's their acronym.
Yes.
UNT. That's really funny. I don't know why, but in my mind, that's just really funny. My brain doesn't work the right way it should. So, anyways, I think that you've heard of AUM, Auburn University at Montgomery. Have you ever heard of AUUNT, Auburn University at University of North Texas? Because I think this must be inherently a thing now. Two guys, not one, but two, have transferred into the Auburn program. That would be Jyaire Shorter and Larry Nixon. I pronounced Jaire's name correctly, correct?
Yes, Jyaire Shorter and Larry Nixon the third. Can't forget those extra eyes in the back of his jersey.
Dude, hot take, by the way. Like when people, this doesn't apply to the third as much as the second, but when people go by the second instead of junior, so hard. Like that is a incredible way to refer to yourself. First off, Dylan, you're Mr. Tank Talks football himself. So I'm going to have you break these guys down for you, and we're going to start with Jyaire Shorter, a 6'2", 218 wide receiver, and his in 2022. I'll let you kind of take it from there and talk to me about what he's done at North Texas and what he brings to the table in this Auburn offense. Now we know likely led by Peyton Thorne, and what that looks like.
Yeah, real great addition to this wide receiver core. The third wide receiver that Auburn has added to the team from the transfer portal this offseason, and possibly one more on the way. Montana Lamonius Craig is still up in the air on where he's going to go, but it would be humongous, if you will, if he were to come to the Auburn Tigers, especially with that name. Again, I'm telling you, I might buy his jersey if he comes to the Tigers. I might. That's a dope name. But yeah, what we saw from Jyaire Shorter and all this stuff, dude knows how to score touchdowns. He led the team in scoring last year, and it wasn't directly close. I think he had 11. He had 11 touchdowns, and I think the next closest guy had like 4. And he didn't even lead the team in receiving yards. He was like 50 yards short of that. So what we're getting is a guy who can score. So that's something Auburn desperately needed coming from last year. A guy who I don't know how he compares to Nick Mardner right away. Both these North Texas guys, it was very hard to find any film on them. I mean, my film on Larry Nixon right now was just what I was going off of from, I believe, a 2016 hype video. So hopefully he has matured as a player since 2016. So fingers crossed for that. But yeah, Jyaire Shorter, a guy who could score, a guy who's going to be more, I think he's more of a speedy threat. And 6'2", he's going to be your go up and high point of ball as well. So I think we're seeing a greater influx of talent coming in through this wide receiver core. And I think Jyaire Shorter is going to be one of the more underrated wide receivers in 2023 for the Auburn Tigers.
And correct me if I'm wrong, before we continue this conversation about North Texas transfers, this should put Auburn at net even for transfers in, transfers out, correct?
I believe so. I can go look. I'm going to pull that up real quick.
I think as of Sunday last week,
I think it was 7. I think it was 19 to 17.
I think it was 17 in to 19 out. So I believe that this is net even for Auburn, which is tremendous.
Which is wild to think about because I don't think anyone just like does that normally. That's not something you usually hear whenever as a transfer portal has become more prevalent in today's sport. And I mean, going through, if you look at the SEC, LSU's lost 20, brought in 12. Arkansas has lost 29. This was as of 4 days ago, so it might have changed. But 29 to 14 brought in. Ole Miss 33 to 18. 26 to 11 for Florida. 19 for 9 for Kentucky. 16 for 10 for South Carolina. 16 for 8 for Tennessee. 31 to 12 for Texas A&M. 23 to 8 for Missouri. 23 to 11 for Mississippi State. 20 to 4 for Alabama. 15 to 3 for Georgia. And 12 to 2 for Vanderbilt.
those numbers make sense.
Yeah.
those numbers. But this was Auburn back at net even, which is tremendous in terms of roster retention and immediate impact reconstruction. You talked about it last show, Dylan, about so much of this instant turnaround that we've seen as of late from coaches. I mean, Lane Kiffin comes to mind when he first took the reins at Ole Miss. I mean, that's probably example A, right?
Yeah.
It is so important to make sure that you are at least in the rough ballpark, and Auburn was already there about being in the ballpark of making sure that you've got the same amount of guys that you started with, even if it's completely different faces. And I think in large, this was all roster improvements for Auburn, or at least addressing positions of need. Speaking of positions of need, Auburn going out and getting a linebacker also from North Texas. I feel like that's the buzzword for today. Linebacker Larry Nixon III, 6'2", 236. And talk to me a little bit about him, Dylan, and about how he can help this linebacking core, because gosh knows that they need it.
Yeah, so I'm trying to pull up the Auburn's linebacker core as it stands right now, which, to my knowledge, the only one I like to talk about is Robert Woodyard. And after that, it's like, oof.
Yeah.
So Larry Nixon, for what I could find of watching him, and based on his stats, I can kind of assume this. Not really your like pass coverage threat. You can kind of get that because of the weight at 236 at 6'2", a little bit of a bigger guy. And with the one sack, I'd have to go look through PFF and see how many hurries he probably had. But he doesn't seem like much of a pass rusher. So from what I'm seeing, I think he's more of a run stuffer, which Auburn desperately would need as a linebacker.
Absolutely.
If we saw from last season, the only linebacker Auburn really had that could make tackles was Owen Papo, and he got drafted. He's no longer with the team. Tarr has his jersey, which I'm surprised he's not worn on the show yet.
I should have worn it. Yes, I guess on the Tuesday show, I should have worn that.
I can riff, and you can go grab it.
No, that's okay.
All right, word. But yeah, you get a guy who I don't know if he's going to start. It just depends on how this linebacker core develops throughout the summer, and God knows that they need to, especially Wesley Steiner and Cam Riley, who have been on this team for about a decade and a half at this point, desperately need to actually step up and turn to the linebackers we know they can be. But with Larry Nixon coming in, you get a guy who can plug in to gaps that desperately need it. I mean, we talk about how great this defensive line is. It's a question mark because, I mean, they played pretty well in the 8A game, and we can assume they're going to play pretty well. But it really gives you a third defensive tackle in a four-man front, because you get a guy who you can plug in next to into the guards in the B gap, and it can stuff the run. And for some of the teams in this league in the SEC, a few of the teams can damage your defense by running the ball. Two that come to mind right off the bat: Arkansas with Raheem Sanders, also known as Rocket Sanders, and Ole Miss with Quinshon Judkins. And if you know Georgia, they're going to run the ball, and it does not matter who's in the backfield. They have an offensive line made of gold, so they are not going to stop. Or they're not going to stop
line
that.
made of steel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fact, gold's chemical symbol is AU. So.
There you go. A little shameless nerd brag there from Dylan Larck. Also, Georgia's always got a talented backfield. That's neither here nor there. But another, I guess, to bring this full circle and put a nice little bow on this. First off, a rare double Yahtzee. I don't think I've ever done that, playing Yahtzee before, so that's cool. But a double Yahtzee for Hugh Freeze and company, and also, man, I've been impressed time and time again, and a lot of people, if you know me personally, you know my kind of outlook on this whole situation when Hugh Freeze was named head coach at Auburn. I was a skeptic. I did say kind of from the jump that I did think he was going to wind up winning a good amount of football games at Auburn. His ability to come in and immediately address positions of need has been so refreshing for Auburn fans, and something that has been so desperately missed over almost a half decade now. And if this is signs of things to come, I mean, sky's the limit for not just on field production, which is ultimately the goal, right? But in terms of continued success in the portal in years to come, because I mean, this is the world of college football in which we operate now, that it is essentially free agency. That is not me talking down on it. I'm a huge proponent of NIL. If you know me, you know that's absolutely true, and I have been for a long time. But this is the world of college football now. So, and college athletics for that matter, about can you be the most enticing destination for essentially a free agent collegiate athlete? And Hugh Freeze and company are proving early that without ever coaching a snap of regulation SEC football. I'm sorry, at Auburn. I mean, he has done this at Ole Miss before, but you know what I mean. At Auburn, that they are a place with a clear vision. Something I don't think the administration beforehand. I don't even want to drop the name. Ever really had, and I think that the Malzahn administration may have lost going toward the end of his tenure at Auburn, and I don't know how much that's Malzahn's fault. I'm not going on that tangent today. I've already defended Kevin Steele once in the past week, which I think people would probably side with me a little more about Malzahn. That's neither here nor there. Put a nice little bow on things. I think this has been a tremendously successful portal period. And all things considered, you went out and got your quarterback, and now you're continuing to address positions of need, whether that be in the trenches or that front seven places that people are skeptic about. No one in their right mind is worried about this DB core. The wide receiver room certainly needed some help. The running back room was solid. There are pieces now that you can start having conversations like we had on the Tuesday show. Could Auburn be that LSU under year one of Brian Kelly? So.
And I would like to point out, I think if you bring in, I think from what we know, one or two more of the guys that that Auburn is actively trying to recruit. If you can go into this upcoming season, picking up more than you lost to the portal,
huge.
I think it defies any other argument as to who won the offseason because it's the Auburn Tigers. If you bring in the transfer portal talent that you lost, and at some point you definitely upgraded at most positions, I would say, or at least all positions, depending on.
I think every position. Every position of need. I'll leave it at that. I think that's a good way to put it. You upgraded at every position of need. You got better everywhere that you needed to get better.
I think that pretty much puts all hush. It shuts up all the haters, because I think what we've seen, Hugh Freeze has already out-recruited at least the last 4 years of coaches. I don't want to say he's out-recruited what Gus Malzahn did at Auburn, because I think at early points of the Malzahn era.
I'm not ready to go there yet.
Well, I'm not saying it. I'm just saying at the early part of the early part of the Gus Malzahn era, he was an excellent recruiter. But as we saw, he did not know how to develop the talent. And then at the end of the road, it was not the best recruiting classes from Gus Malzahn that we've seen.
And hey, look, to put an asterisk next to it, we don't know about talent development yet. We don't know under Hugh Freeze at Auburn and how that's going to pan out. But I'm with you on that front about I do think that Auburn was a quiet winner in the offseason and in the transfer portal period, rather. Because not a lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are counting Auburn down and out. I'm not saying I think they're a national championship contender. You guys know me, and you guys should know better if you're routine listeners of the show than that I'm going to come on here and sunshine pump, because I'll be the first one to be critical of Auburn football. Dylan's got to be here to keep me in check about Auburn basketball. It's the circle of life, right? The balance, the checks and balances. But I think Auburn was a quiet winner, and I think a lot of people didn't really realize the moves that Auburn made this offseason outside of the Auburn sphere. And I'll be very interested to see. I do think it'll pay some dividends this fall. And I like you said, I don't know that the job's finished. We're not. This isn't the episode where we're giving out our offseason grades yet. We're not there yet because this portal period's still open, closing soon, but still open.
I mean, you can't enter the portal anymore. So I think it's worth mentioning that we could give a grade, but I feel like that'd have to be like a whole conversation in of itself. That'd be a whole title of an episode.
You can't enter the portal anymore, but I until things get really quiet, I'm not ready to give grades out just yet. All that to say, these were two great pickups, I think, for Auburn. I think you and I both agree with that.
Oh, for sure.
Let's get over to some fan questions. It's bizarre that I can say the word fan. And let's bring our intern, Colin Beiersdorf, onto the show. And let's see if he can pull himself on. There he is. And hey, Colin, what's up, man?
What's up, y'all?
Yeah, good to see you again, buddy. It's been 14 minutes since I talked to you last. So
yeah, no, it's been lonely.
I know you've been lonely. Have we been dragging it out too bad? How we doing?
I think you're doing great. You're doing great.
Great.
But I do have some fan questions here.
Yeah, let's hear them.
Well, yeah. So first one, Sticks on Football. It's from W. Joe Todd off of YouTube. If we win at LSU, is Bryan Harsin still our head coach? So if we win that LSU game, is Bryan Harsin still our head coach?
That's a tough one. That's an interesting perspective, because if you look at where that LSU game was placed in the season last year, it does submit an interesting question. If you close out the game the way you started the game, I think that honestly that has a lot to do with it, right? and because Auburn actually played pretty well that first half. And then the second half, you just decided not to score touchdowns. I don't know that it makes a ton of a difference. I think that I'm not going to take all of Dylan's talking points away here, but I think there were other games that would have meant a little bit more to saving Bryan Harsin's tenure. But in my opinion, by the LSU game, Bryan Harsin was a dead man walking. So that's actually, it's mind blowing that he made it all the way to Arkansas. And that's that probably doesn't sound overkill, but that's just kind of where I stand on this. Dylan, your thoughts?
Yeah. I'm looking at the previous schedules, and at that point in the season, LSU was unranked, 3-1 going into that game with the loss to Florida State in that outstanding Week 1 game. I don't know if y'all were able to watch that.
Phenomenal game.
It was awesome. But looking at that, I gotta agree with you. I think Bryan Harsin was already a dead man walking after he let Penn State
manhandle Auburn.
Jordan Stadium and just absolutely bull rushed the crap out of them. But from what I see, at the very next week, after Auburn in hypothetical world would have beaten LSU, got 42-10 against Georgia, 48-34 against Ole Miss, 41-27 against Arkansas, and then Bryan Harsin got fired. I don't think beating an unranked LSU, it's always great. It's always great when you beat LSU. It's always tremendous to your team's morale and whatnot. But at that moment in time, Auburn fans were still upset, rightfully so, about the previous two games, Penn State and the Missouri game where Auburn got lucky. That running back fumbled into the end zone. I don't think beating LSU would have gotten him. If he beat Alabama, it's different. If you beat Georgia, it's different.
I'll tell you this too, just a little side flavor note. I know nobody asked this, and Colin, this is getting a little away from the question, but if Bryan Harsin wins that Iron Bowl in his first year, he's still the head coach right now. That's a fact. I mean, I don't think I'm too crazy saying that. I don't think you can a coach the year after he wins an Iron Bowl in his first year of tenure. So
Gus Malzahn's career got extended because of that 2019 and 2017 years.
100% correct.
Going into both those seasons, it was an idea. Will this be the last year under Gus Malzahn if he can't beat Alabama? 2017 beats Alabama, gets extended. 2018 loses. And I think that was 2018 a bad beatdown by Alabama.
Oh yeah, it was an absolute smoke.
I try to ignore that and think about the 2017, and it was 52-21. Yeah, that's not good. It doesn't help when you have Boobie Whitlow at running back. Yeah.
And as you're watching this, Boobie Whitlow fumbled again.
Yeah, and he had to do 50 push-ups. And then you go into 2018, loses to Alabama, loses by almost 30 points. 2019, if Gus Malzahn can't beat Alabama, this is last year's Auburn head football coach, beats Alabama in 2019. Then you go to 2020, which ultimately was his last year as head coach. And if Bryan Harsin, I think this is one of the only Iron Bowls in the memory I have being alive and being an Auburn fan, where I am okay with the outcome of the 2020 Iron Bowl because it means 2021 was it 2021?
Yeah, 2021 was the first year under Bryan Harsin.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. 2020
2022 is the last year under Bryan.
A year and a half. That we had of Bryan Harsin. But yeah, it hurts. It hurt. I cried a little bit losing to Alabama in 4 overtimes. But hindsight's 2020, and it's 2023. I'm okay with Auburn losing the 2021 Iron Bowl, sorry, because it means that Auburn is doing what they're doing right now. And I mean, it's all hypothetical if this team is actually going to be a 10-win team, 9-win team. But I'm okay with it. And I think that, yeah, if you win the LSU game, Harsin is not going to be your head coach still because you're still going to be losing to Georgia, Ole Miss, and Arkansas. And hopefully that means you still get the Cadillac things with just a little bit more of a little braggadocious thing, but you also get a bowl game in that point.
That I'm glad you mentioned the Cadillac bit before Colin gets the next question. That's just so everyone, please buy it into that. I want a question about what would have happened if Cadillac Williams would have been the interim head coach earlier in the season. I want to talk about it really bad.
That is a dead period episode right there.
but and that's coming. That's coming because I've got a whole the spreadsheet of how that could work. All right, Colin.
And as you know, we're a Cadillac fan base over here.
Oh yeah, Colin, would Bryan Harsin still be the head coach if Auburn wins that LSU game?
No, not at the end of the season. I think he might have lasted a game or two, but no, he was never gonna make the whole way out. I think, like you said, if he won the Iron Bowl, I think you give him 2 Iron Bowls. I think he gets to prove himself a second time, but that's about it.
And get his ass handed to him in the second one. All right, next question.
Yeah. All right. So I got the next question from you. It comes from Gracie Sky Walker Girl 14. It's why would Aisha leave? Aisha Coulibaly. Why is she entering the transfer portal?
Ooh, that's a good one. Talking women's hoops. Love it. Love a women's hoops question. Dylan, you want to field this one or you want me to?
I think you got a little bit more of an idea about this one than I do.
So, Gracie, there's no easy way to put this. Aisha Coulibaly is a fantastic basketball player, and we talk about it a lot on here about her impressive abilities to be just a double machine. Aisha Coulibaly also has one of the most piss poor work ethics you'll ever see, and I know that's pretty harsh for me to say of someone that I've not personally met outside of the sphere of a press conference. From all accounts, she and Coach Jyaire, maybe piss poor is not the right word for the work ethic. Her work ethic and Coach Jay's work ethic did not mesh. And ultimately, sometimes you got to tear down the wall in order to build it higher. And unfortunately, it was not something that Coach Jyaire and Aisha Coulibaly appear seemingly could find some common ground on. And that's just kind of it's not necessarily widely known. And I'm not saying I have I guess inside scoop as much as it was pretty visible on the court. They did not get along on the court. It was if you watched the courtside antics, it did not seem that they meshed very well in year 2. Year 1, they seemed fine. Year 2, it seemed that there was just something off there, and at some point you just got to kind of clean house because AC ultimately was a Terry Williams-Flanoy recruit, and sometimes that's just kind of the way things shake out. So that would be why Aisha Coulibaly, in my opinion, why she would leave. I don't know that she was the biggest team player either. I think that there were some situations, and I never want to comment on injuries, but I think there were some situations that she could have played and she opted not to. And so the South Carolina game this year really kind of grinds my gears when you have the opportunity to play spoiler to a number 1 team in the country. And granted, Auburn wasn't going to win that game, but real competitors want to be in games like that, even if they're on the worst team in the worst division, whatever. And Auburn wasn't. Auburn was middle of the road, an SEC team this past year, or almost middle of the road. That's a huge success. Real competitors want the ball in their hands when they're playing the best competition, and that kind of set the tune, or the tone rather, for the remainder of the season. Colin, what else you got for me? Or for us?
That's it. That's all the questions that we have.
Is it? That's unfortunate.
I believe so.
Dylan, you good?
Yeah, I was gonna wonder if you want to do it in his bag with Beiersdorf real quick before we finish him down to the underbelly.
Oh yeah, let's go ahead and do in his bag.
In his bag.
In his bag with
Beiersdorf.
All right, Colin, which Auburn athlete's in his or her bag this week, as of the Thursday installment of the show?
Okay, as of the Thursday installment of this show, I'm going to say Brendan Valdez is in his bag.
Okay.
He, as of Tuesday, he set the Auburn single season school record for most rounds under 70 in a single season with 15. So he's had 15 rounds this season, shooting 60 or below, not 60 or below, 69 or below.
Nice.
And then
Nice.
So, and then on Wednesday, he and the Tigers finished first in the regional hosted here in Auburn, and they'll be moving on to the NCAA championships in a couple weeks.
So Auburn men's golf in their bag.
Yeah, Auburn's men's golf is in their bag.
Okay, cool. Well, that's fantastic. Anyone on bag watch this weekend?
On bag watch this weekend, probably the Auburn baseball team trying to finish the season out strong with Missouri.
I was thinking maybe Maddie Penta.
Maybe Maddie Penta.
I mean, this is
a little bit of anger. Yeah.
I would not want to be at the plate for the Maddie Penta revenge tour.
No. Those poor girls of Cal State Fullerton are
and anyone
about
else
to learn something.
And they're about to mess around and find out.
Yeah.
Well, Colin, you're banished, but thank you.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah, have fun, Colin. Have fun and enjoy the show while you sit down there.
Of course.
Bagman Beiersdorf, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us for In His Bag with Beiersdorf. Hope you guys liked our little jingle. If you hated it, I don't care. I don't care at all. So we're all about coming in bits here.
expect like a 70s style intro theme coming up soon for that, because it's too funny.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Okay, let's go back to what the individual that actually kind of sparked this hole in his bag with Beiersdorf. Let's talk men's hoops for a second. Let's talk Johni Broome. Bro, chill out. Like, you need to calm down for a second and not not be posting these kind of numbers, because Auburn really needs you back. Another 20-point, 11 rebound appearance for Johni Broome. Dude, pump the brakes. Come back. I'm telling you. Actually, I don't necessarily know that's the truth at this point. Maybe schematically, Johni Broome wasn't a fit well in Auburn. I have a question about this, Dylan, that I'd be interested to get your thoughts on. And I kind of posed this right before we hopped on the show, because I think that this is an interesting concept. Is Johni Broome's success in this G League camp and in earning an NBA Combine invite, is that more of a testament to how strong the state of Auburn basketball is, or a testament to, wow, maybe he was misused last year and that might not have been the state that we need, Auburn fans need Auburn basketball to be in?
I think it's more on the positive side of things. Because, I mean, maybe Johni Broome just had a couple of bad games. Maybe it was just that. He just had a couple of bad games in a row. But we saw what he did in the tournament. I think he was used properly for what it's worth.
Sure.
I think ultimately it was probably because Auburn didn't trust the fives that we had on the team. I mean, we talk about all the time. I would love it if Dylan Cardwell sat down this entire summer and said to himself, you know what? I'm going to be good for the entire season's worth. And
now, Dylan Cardwell is by all college basketball standards, he is good. I would like for Colin, actually, I almost said Colin. I was still thinking about Bagman. Sorry. I'd love for Dylan to sit down and say, I'm going to take that next step, because we're waiting for him to take that next step. And
we thought he did at the beginning of the season.
That's
and then
the thing. We know
after the 10-game mark, he just.
The thing is, we know that it's possible. It's there. Yes. Continue.
Yeah, I did say he'd sit down and look, I'm going to be good for the entirety of the season. And if he can just be consistent, if he can be consistently average for the entirety of the season, I wouldn't be upset with him starting. I wouldn't. I'd be okay with Johni Broome moving on to the NBA. And right now, I don't want him to. And I probably still won't by the time the season starts, unless we pick up some 5-star Shaquille O'Neal clone from the portal that just appeared out of nowhere. But yeah, I think it is a positive statement to the Auburn Tigers that a guy that no one really expected to get drafted right away is kind of popping off. And maybe those games that he had that we just talked about, how it just didn't look like he wanted to play that night. He just didn't do the assignments that he was made for. It might not be Auburn using him improperly. It might just be because he wasn't probably ready to play the 5 as much as he is to play the 4. And
well, he's a stretch 4 by design.
Yeah, but he's never been more of he's less of more of the 4 than he is the stretch. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely. Like I couldn't agree more, and I'm with you. I just thought it'd be an interesting conversation. Yeah. I do agree. I think it is not necessarily a testament to a dysfunction in the Auburn basketball program as much as it is. Johni Broome's had some offseason time to work on some things. He knows what he's got to improve on, and he's had the luxury of talking to NBA scouts and talking to folks about, hey, here's how you can improve on this. Here's what you can do. And has been able to do offseason things and improve and get better. And maybe this consistency is there right now. It is a small sample size in this G League camp, but I think that actually plays to Auburn's benefit should he return this year, though, because I do think that shows that there have been strides made. It's never been a question about Johni Broome's ability. It's been a question about his consistency, and maybe that right now he's hitting a stride, and maybe that's the case. So I'm with you. I just wanted to kind of pose that question real quick.
I wouldn't mind the Thunder drafting him back in the second round, because I would love to have Johni Broome on the Thunder rather than Chet Holmgren.
You would purchase that jersey about as fast as I purchased the Owen Papo Cardinals jersey.
Probably. I'd also offer some trades for Chet Holmgren. I'll literally give you Chet Holmgren straight up for like Trae Young. I know you're
hard pass.
Clint Capella.
Chet for Jabari straight up.
I will take that no matter what. I wanted Jabari on the Thunder so bad, but don't get me started. We're about to be another rant podcast.
If you're going to do that, you have to do it within like the next, I don't know, like 60 days, because I think my Jabari jersey, I only have jersey insurance for like another few months.
Do you know who would have been a better pick for a center at the 2 spot?
Yeah, I can think of a guy. He may have made the all defensive team.
He might have been the second, finished second behind Paolo Banchero and the NBA Rookie of the Year award.
Rookie of the Year. Yep. Yeah. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Let's talk baseball real quick. All right.
Okay then. Yep.
Yeah. Okay then. Let's go over to baseball and talk about Auburn's final regular season series and SEC season series, for that matter, all kind of tied into one nice little ribbon. This weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So Thursday, this is coming out. I believe that's 6 p.m. first pitch. For those of you who will be watching that, I'm sure you'll be having 2 screens. One of my color commentating call of Mercer Sanford. I'm sure that's what you guys are watching instead of Auburn, Missouri. I'm not asking you to do that whatsoever.
I'll be on your side here. You got to watch it, because the 2 times before, his first time doing it, he said wild pickle on air, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was retrospectively, it's really funny. But hindsight's 2020, like you mentioned earlier. Let's talk Mizzou right now. So Missouri baseball on a 3-game win streak. I mean, they're coming in feeling confident after a weekend sweep over Georgia, another team that's kind of been struggling in the SEC. But still, don't let you know the age-old saying, don't let the boys get hot. And whenever a team, and specifically in baseball and diamond sports, when they're feeling it, they don't care about logic. And there's no team more dangerous than that, except for maybe a team like Auburn, who's on a little bit of a win streak of their own. But that's all that to say. Auburn will play host to Missouri in a 3-game set. Missouri on the year, 30 wins, 20 losses, 10-17 in the conference. A winning conference record, or even 500, is officially off the table for the Tigers. And let's not forget, this is a tough league to win in. So, do with that as you will. How important is it for Auburn to win in this series? In this season, regular season, that is, with a series win, Dylan? And how does that get done? I think there's a larger part of this than just beyond the analytics, but I want to get your take.
I mean, it's huge, because if Auburn's on a 4-series win streak,
4 straight SEC series.
Yeah, and near mind you, do you know the last time this team gave up 10 runs in a game?
Alabama.
It's a little bit closer, Mississippi State, but it was a month ago.
Okay.
Almost a month ago to the dot. And if you go before then, it was a thing that happened regularly.
Routine basis kind of the ordeal.
Yeah. It's like if you're like a coach that likes to take overs and unders, you take the over on the other teams.
Sure.
Yeah, all the time. And especially if you were the coach of the team, you'd be like, well, maybe I can go ahead and just take the over on my own team.
A little Pete Rose action, betting on your own team.
Yeah, betting against him. One coach in the SEC did this year.
You went there. I put the ball on the tee and you swung at it.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, it'd be huge, especially if you can keep this pitching staff in general just doing what they've been doing. Just keep doing what you've been doing, and good things will come. And you got Hoover in 2 weeks, and nothing would make Hoover seem that much easier to grab a hold of than to finish on a 5-series win streak. And the bats are always hot. The bats are always there. But can the pitching staff stay like they were? And I think all you got to do is sell your soul for a Thursday night win.
Jesus Lord. You want me to say sell your soul for a Thursday night win just so Auburn?
You have to. I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little
stitious.
A lot stitious, actually.
A lot stitious. Okay, but not quite super. Okay, I'm going to build off that. Exactly what you're saying, actually. And I'm going to use, me and my really wild and kind of loose analogies. I'm going to use a basketball analogy to depict the mental outlook for this Auburn baseball team. When you go play pickup with your buddies and you're shooting around beforehand and maybe you're a little frustrated, you're not hitting your shots, and you see one go in and you see a couple more go in, you start, take some easy shots, you shoot from the free throw line just to see them go through. And then you go back and you're starting to hit a good amount of your 3-pointers, your mid-range, whatever. Auburn has metaphorically seen the ball go through the hoop now for 4 straight series. And they've got that confidence. And they're hot right now. That inherently makes you one of the most dangerous teams in the postseason. Period. You've competed and learned how to, we mentioned on the Tuesday show, learned how to get hit in this league, and that's okay. this pitching staff is starting to realize that they've got a defense behind them. They don't have to pitch to strike everybody out. It's pitching for strikeouts is I get inherently that's the goal, but strikeouts don't have to be priority one. They don't always win you games. They can for sure, but you can absolutely let your defense let them put the ball on the ground in the infield or pop out of the outfield, and it'll work just the same. This pitching staff seems to have figured that out. And I don't know what changed, what Coach Rock did that has really kind of opened some eyes, or if someone stepped up in that locker room and said, hey, guys, we're better than this. But this group baseball's a mental sport, and they have gotten their mental right. I mean, there's so much of the game that's mental. If Auburn can continue that approach like they have mastered over the past 4 weeks, I know that this is wildly non-analytical and this is kind of all interpretive here, but I'm serious. Logic to hell with it. Who needs it? I mean, there are teams at every level of the game. I mean, I'm wearing the 2011 Braves World Series, 2021 Braves World Series champion shirt. This team didn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like they weren't the most talented team. They just figured it out at the right time, and that happens a lot in baseball. So it's imperative that they continue that mindset and remember that like it's do or die. Like treat every game like it's your last game of the season. And I think that Butch Thompson's pretty good at conveying that to his guys. All right, Diamond Sport team that is headed to the postseason this weekend. Auburn Softball. We kind of hinted at it earlier in the show. Maddie Penta Revenge Tour. That is a terrifying sentence for anyone that's not an Auburn fan. Dylan, how big of a role can Maddie Penta play this weekend? And can it be any bigger than we've seen her play this year?
I think this is probably the biggest role that she's going to have to get on throughout the entirety of the season. You talk about how you got to tell Auburn baseball that they need to treat every game like it's their last game. Softball is in that mindset because that is the case right here. Any game can be their last game, and you're going into a NCAA regional, and you have to travel to it. And Auburn softball should not be traveling to their regional.
They should be hanging out at South. They should be eating at the wellness kitchen for dinner and going to bed at South Don, not at a freaking Hampton.
Exactly. But instead, they now have to go to South Carolina, who is refusing to give tickets to other fans besides their own. So that's always fun.
Losers.
But
that's loser behavior, by the way. That is so just bullshit.
But we talk about how every game what Auburn needs to do to win, and it was you need to stay consistent, batting 1 through 9. Well, now the NCAA has, rightfully so, or probably wrongfully so for them, pissed off every batter from 1 to the pinch hitter to Maddie Penta, who can also rake from what we've heard.
Direct quote from Bree Ellis.
I mean, Maddie Penta might just come in and hit a grand slam just in spite of everybody else. But yeah, this is going to be a tough outing, strictly because you're not playing at home. I had to go crunch the numbers real quick, as in I'm just going to scroll up real quick. Auburn has been very, very good at home this season. 26-4 is the record. Away 8-7. Neutral site 6-6. And I think for your first game, it's going to be more of your neutral site game. And then if Clemson beats UNC, then you have an away game. You have to stay on it. Play angry, maybe not too angry, but play frustrated.
Controlled.
Play frustrated at least.
And
keep your head on your shoulders.
Absolutely. And just to preview Cal Fullerton real quick, it's not a bad softball team at all. I mean, 33-19 on the season, 20-7, absolutely dominating their conference. This is a team that can put up runs, and their collaborative team batting average is 254 on the season, OBP 342, slugging 357, but they've lost 3 straight, and they've not spent a season playing the competition that Auburn has. I know that is such a homer the thing that I do, and I do this a lot, and people get on to me about me saying the SEC is the best conference in intercollegiate athletics. Damn it, it is. If there's a more competitive conference as a general whole, by all means, show me. If there's a more competitive conference in college softball, for the love of God, someone show it to me.
If it's not rowing or hockey, it's the SEC.
And college softball is just the SEC is the pinnacle of college softball plus Oklahoma. Exactly. Which guess what? Guess where they'll be?
in about a year and a half.
In about a year and a half's time. And there's a reason. And Oklahoma will still continue to be the perennial powerhouse. They will become the team that everyone's chasing in the SEC, and that's fine. But I think Auburn softball is built for this moment. I think that after last year, they left Clemson with a bitter taste in their mouth. And this group's been there before now. They know. There was a young, huge freshman class last year, which inherently means there's a huge sophomore class this year. But this group gets it. They know how to go about this now. The moment's not too big. And they've got a chip on their shoulder. Dude, folks, I like Auburn to get out of the regional. I do. I really do. So all that to say, should be really exciting Friday night at 5:30 Central Time.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, if Auburn can get out of here, what are the chances they host a Super Regional?
None. Oklahoma.
It gets straight to Oklahoma? No
Yeah. You would go play the Sooners.
Oh, great. Love the Sooners.
Anyway.
For the first 5 minutes of that game, if Auburn makes it that far, knock on wood, mute the TV because they're going to mention the 2016 College World Series.
Over and over and over.
So you just play it on mute or plan a little family road trip to go. Because you're going to hear about it.
Or join us, and I'll go ahead and sound like a fan here because I really don't care. Join us in the preying on Oklahoma downfall agenda. Who says no?
I say yes.
I would agree. All right. I'm Harrison Tarr, by Harrison Tarr on the Bird app. I'll be back when I'm back. If you guys want to hang out with me on ESPN Plus tonight, as the show's coming out, it's Thursday installment, I will be on ESPN Plus calling Mercer versus Sanford baseball. That is at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. Would love to have you guys hang out and tweet at Mercer baseball. You know what? Maybe I'll download the app for the game tomorrow because I usually get 1 or 2 questions. And hit me with your best baseball questions about the bigger picture or SoCon baseball if that's something you're interested in. I know we probably have an overlap, Dylan, of fans that are Sanford fans and Auburn fans. I know that's a pretty significant overlap. So come hang out. Like I said, that'll be on ESPN Plus, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. Otherwise, take care of yourself, take care of each other, love on one another, be good. Dylan, always good at hanging out with you. Get us out of here.
I'm Dylan Larck at your boy the Tank on Twitter. Also catch me on the Auburn Daily Show, where I actually forgot to record today with Andrew Stefaniak.
You just realized that?
Yeah, just realizing this. Go watch the Monday edition where I was chilling out by myself. And catch me next week when hopefully I remember to text Andrew to record on Wednesday. Also catch me on here every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, where I have yet to miss a show, and I don't plan on it because I love talking to all of you out there listening.
And catch your TikTok.
Yeah, go watch the TikTok. TikTok did me dirty. They unsynced my audio to the video, so it looks like I don't know what I'm doing, but I do. I did it in 4 takes. 300
subs, and Daniel Locke does a TikTok dance. 500 subs, and our intern does a TikTok dance.
And Bagman has to do it.
Bagman.
I think we hit the picket for him, right? I think that's how it goes.
He's an intern.
Boss.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to listen to us, you guys on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And if you want to follow us on social media, you guys on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. But sadly, again, no MySpace. But granted, 500 subs. Colin gets to do a little dancey dance on TikTok. 1,000 subs, and we will be on MySpace posting it there too. So get us to 1,000 subs. Great bit. Verbal meme, actually. But yeah, all that being said, this has been the College Loop Podcast.